Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Journey to Happy podcast. I'm Olga, your host. And today I'm going to share with you a beautiful story, or maybe multiple beautiful stories that lead me to the subject of this episode, which is gratitude. And I specifically want us to talk about feeling gratitude before having evidence. I'm going to explain more of that. But let's dive in. So happy. I'm so happy that you're here. Really, thank you so much for continuing to to listen to my my podcast episode after episode. We keep growing, and it just grows my heart so much that this content that I prepare just is being heard. And I hope from the bottom of my heart, wherever it is that you are while listening to this episode, that you feel my gratitude from my heart to yours. So, if you've been following for a while, you might know that I am Colombian. I was born and raised in Colombia. And when I moved to Canada, it was against my will for sure. It wasn't a planned trip. We came here as refugees. And so I always initially had a really hard time accepting that this was my reality, that I had to leave my country and be here. I would have rather stayed in the country I was born and be next to all of my extended family and in my culture and with my language. And none of that was possible for me after we moved here. It was a disruption from what I thought was going to happen. Anyways, all of that to say that I didn't grow up with the holiday of Thanksgiving. And maybe you're listening to this from part of the world where you also don't celebrate Thanksgiving. So I'm about to explain this to you. It's a beautiful tradition that captivated my heart from the beginning, from year one. I just thought it was so beautiful. And the reason I love the holiday of Thanksgiving is because gratitude has always been such a big pillar of who I am, of my values, and of what I do. Gratitude is just what I feel and what I do on a regular basis. And I would say is the emotion that has helped me heal and compensate for all other emotions that I've had and losses and traumas that I've had. So for those of you who are listening that you're not in North America, Thanksgiving is, I think it started way back then with indigenous communities, where at this time of the year, prepping for winter, they were collecting crops that they had planted and cultivated and nourished all summer. And so there was this ceremony initially to thank Mother Earth and the gods for all the food provided that was going to keep them fed all winter. So it kind of broke spring and summer crops from, it divided the year from like what they had cultivated while the weather was nice, and they were sort of celebrating the feast that they were gonna begin to have all winter. I loved it. I just thought it was so beautiful because how it is celebrated now is that families come together. There is just this big supper made. Everybody's like kind of like a Christmas. Everybody comes together. And it's just one big day, except that there are no gifts being given, that the only reason of getting together is to celebrate gratitude. And so it kind of brings you, just like Christmas brings you into the spirit of magic and what's possible. To me, Thanksgiving brings me to the spirit of gratitude for all that I have, for the people I'm surrounded by, etc. So of course, I love that. And so as soon as I married my husband, not even, well, we married pretty shortly after we met, but as soon as we were together, our first Thanksgiving, I started a family tradition for us, which was to invite both of our families and write notes of gratitude. Everybody gets to write a gratitude note to the people present. So any words that come to you when you're thinking like, oh my God, I'm so thankful for you, Mom, for teaching me that, or for telling me whatever. And I have loved it, and everybody loves it. And my husband and I just always make the same turkey. that's like covered in bacon. Like, we just love it. I bought a dining table that can seat 16 people because of Thanksgiving. That's what I had in mind. And so, of course, we use it at Thanksgiving. Okay. So, what I want to talk to you about is gratitude before evidence. It all started for me, like, it's October, Canadian Thanksgiving. This it's always in October, and this year happened to be October 10th. And so we just had it, or it's today. It's the day that this podcast is being released. So of course I'm not I'm recording a bit ahead of time. So it's what made me think of talking about gratitude before evidence. So not long ago, I was giving a talk at the city hall here in Ottawa to a group of women and young girls, youth, and it was about leadership and the skills of a good leader. And when I was thinking to prepare for that, I thought about for me as a leader, what has brought me there, what has brought me here in big part has been resiliency that has been brought up by gratitude. And I specifically wanted to tell you, which some of you may have heard this story already, a very important reason for my gratitude that I had to begin to be grateful for before I had the evidence, before this was even in my life. And although I had always been a big fan of expressing my gratitude, I'll be a kind of person who goes out of her way to write an email of thank you or a text after we were invited for supper or after somebody came here. Like I'm always just so expressive of gratitude. This has always been a thing for me. However, I never knew anything about experiencing gratitude before I had the thing that I wanted. So like being grateful for the job that I didn't have yet, being grateful for the clients that I didn't have yet. And one day it occurred to me that perhaps if I began to sit in the energy of gratitude, which by the way is absolutely beautiful, and I'll bring you with me to that emotion. I think I have the ability to bring you with me to that emotion in your body. Okay. That when we connect to that gratitude before the thing we want to have in our arms is here, that we just open our doors to that abundance. And it's almost like we jump into this is a dawn energy. This is coming my way. And I trust it so much that I'm already going to start feeling so grateful for that item, that person, that miracle that you're waiting for, like that job. Like you're just now saying, thank you. Yes, this is what I wanted. And I am so grateful for it. And rather than letting your brain stay in doubt mode, will I really have that? What if I don't have it? That'll be the absence of gratitude. And then there is fear, right? And when there is no gratitude, there is fear. And we spend our time in fear mode, which then creates a lot of thoughts that are fearful based. Would I have that? What if I don't? Who am I to have that? And unfortunately, when we have this type of thoughts, eventually they creep into our behavior. And eventually they creep into our results. Our life experience is what we see in our lives. All right. So gratitude before evidence. Once upon a time, there was this woman who married this man, and they loved each other and they wanted to have children desperately. She especially was crazy about becoming a mom, and she had been for a long, long time. And she began to connect to the soul of that baby and calling that baby. And by calling that baby, it wasn't like, baby, come here, but just really connecting and saying, I'm your mother and I am so ready for you. I want to meet you. And here's your dad, and he wants to meet you too. And month after month after month, there was no pregnancy. The 1 year turned into two, two turned into three, three into four. Year 3 and 4 was spent on now fertility treatments, helping this couple make a child, make a baby. And that didn't come without losses, failures, expenses. And suddenly it occurred to this woman who had used gratitude her entire life that maybe she needed to let go of control and fear that her dream was not going to come true and give her fear to gratitude. Transform fear for gratitude. And so she began to still connect to that baby, talk to that baby even, but from a place of gratitude. Thank you so much for coming. You make me so happy. I am the happiest mother because you're in my life. And one day while she was trying all the different things that could help her conceive, she ran into a Chinese medicine doctor for an acupuncture appointment. And he spoke to her the words that confirmed to her that perhaps she needed to feel gratitude before evidence that she could ever get pregnant and she could ever be a mom. And this man said to her, I know it seems so far and so distant, and I know your hope has diminished, but I want you to imagine, I want you to know that when things happen at the wrong time, when we're not ready for, it's not ideal. But when we can trust that things will happen exactly at the time we want it, and we can begin to feel grateful because it came at the right time. We can begin to feel that feeling of like, oh my God, it was, you don't imagine how perfect it was, the time in which it happened. That gratitude. He said to me one day, oh, I gave it away. You will hold a beautiful baby in your arms. You're going to look down and you're going to feel the most amount of gratitude because this baby knew exactly when to arrive into your life. And this baby has found a much better version of yourself. As I just gave it away, that couple and that mom that longed for that baby was me. And as life will have it, when I was finally pregnant with my beautiful miracle baby boy, Mateo, my doctor tells me his due date is actually on Thanksgiving. If you didn't get shivers right now, let me tell you, I did. I couldn't believe it. What are the odds? I have been expressing gratitude to this baby way before he came. And by the way, having him in my belly was still terrifying. Would I ever meet him alive? And so I also decided to use gratitude every day of my pregnancy, so long as I felt we were two. And if we were two, I would tell my husband, yeah, I'm still two. And we will celebrate one day at a time. I would think of giving birth to this beautiful baby, hold him in my arms, just like this Chinese doctor had told me. And I would begin to express my gratitude to him way before he was an embryo, way before he was in my uterus. I was already so grateful for his existence. So when the time came and I knew I had a healthy embryo that they were going to transfer into my uterus, I was so in such a done energy. This is going to happen. This is my chance. This is me. That I was surprisingly also incredibly loving and able to release him to his own destiny. No longer expecting him to come through and stay alive. No longer wanting him to be here necessarily if that's not what he wanted, but giving him permission to just decide whether or not he wanted to stay with us. And that made me even more grateful because I went from being a control freak, if it's not this way, I'm not going to be happy in life, to being so grateful that he had chosen us up until that moment, and then to open the doors for him to choose and decide his own freedom, whether he was going to become our son, our baby, coming to this side of earth, or if he was going to stay an angel. I like to say my baby's an angel. But he's definitely on this side of earth, and that makes me so happy. But through this experience, I learned to have gratitude before I had evidence, and that changes everything. These are the doors to abundance. These are the doors for us to trust that what we want, if it's possible in our hearts, in our imagination, we can see it. If we can be grateful for it, even before it's here, what begins to happen to your brain is that it stops fighting you on why it wouldn't work. It stops removing fear away from your mind, from your experience. You stop wasting vital thinking and creative energy of your brain on all the what ifs. So whenever you're feeling like really negatively attached to something, whenever you're feeling like this isn't gonna happen, that you cannot possibly say thank you for the job when you don't have the job, or you don't even know how this job is gonna come through, when you're starting to feel really distracted by all the thoughts that tell you, might never happen, this might not happen, you don't have it here, how can you say thank you before? Challenge that by just trying it, giving it some quality time to that gratitude. So of course, give gratitude for the things you've got already, like your health, your family, the relationships you do have. Like, bring to mind the things that already are working well in your life, that already you love in your life. But extend gratitude to the things you want to have as if they were already here. And if you need to set up an alarm in your calendar, in your phone, to be reminded of being grateful. If you already have a gratitude practice, I bet you anything it doesn't have things that you don't have yet. So I want you to think of things you want. I want you to think of places you want to go, or experiences you want to have, people you want to meet, people you want to make. And I want you to bring gratitude before you have the evidence. Happy Thanksgiving to all my Canadian friends. Happy Thanksgiving to every single human listening to this episode. Whether you celebrate it or not, I am grateful for you. I am grateful for the things that make you feel grateful. And my best hope for you today is that you learn to create the feeling of gratitude within your heart and benefit from the abundance that this beautiful emotion brings to you and to others. See you guys next Monday.